Okay, thank you, Giovanni. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to everyone. Welcome to this webinar about the new Senelec new work item form. I'm here with my colleague Raisa to go through the novelties of this new work item form, to highlight the main changes and to tell you how to best implement it within the Senelec system. So my name is Constant. I work as account manager for the electrotechnology department in the Senelec Management Center. So you may know that a new work item form has been approved by the Senelec BT at the last BT meeting. And actually here we would like to highlight the main change to you so that you can best implement them. And actually I would like to mention in that respect, to recap what is the concept of the new work item form. Why do we need a new work item form, and why do we need to make a new work item request to the BTs? And then we will also have the opportunity to dive into the different specificities of this new work item form. So as you know, in the frame of Senelec, we need to provide to the Senelec technical board, to the Senelec BT, a new work item request, which relies on a new work item form. So this is something that needs to be done for all those Senelec homegrown standards. And this is something that is not relevant for those ENIC standards that are developed in parallel with IEC, with IEC lead, because you know that for those cases, once the new work item is approved at IEC level, it is reflected in the Senelec work program, provided that this project is not on the list of exemption from parallel procedures. And as you may be aware, in the Senelec portfolio, there are more or less 20% of standards which are homegrown standards. So this new work item form is relevant for more or less 20% of the Senelec portfolio. And as you know, in order to request a new work item to the technical board, we need to rely on the specific TC decision, which does not only relate to the need to create a new work item, but which relate to actually to the different section of the new work item form, because all of them needs to be submitted to the technical board based on the TC decision. You may also know that we submit new work item request to the Senelec technical board by correspondence, and this is something that takes 4 weeks. And once the new work item is approved, CCMC, so the Senelec Management Center, registers the new work item in the TC work program, and this is something that will appear in Project Online. I just want to mention the offering to IEC is the opportunity to mention that we do have this new work item form, but it does not change anything to the principle actually of the Frankfurt Agreement. One of those is the possibility for the Senelec TC to offer new work item at IEC level. So if accepted by the IEC, the work can start at IEC in parallel with Senelec in order to trigger the best use of the resource. And so why do we need a new work item form actually? And this is something that has been approved through a BT decision very recently. And actually here on the screen, you can see the main aspect of this new work item form. So the first one is about integrating the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Also to integrate some digital aspects, features, to increase the visibility of the environmental aspects as well. Also to improve the section which relate to the target dates for the development of the standard, because you know that as from this year, you have to make available specific target dates for submitting the standard to either to inquiry or to formal votes. All in all, it brings more clarity on a lot of different aspects, and it will remove some outdated information. And very important, this new work item form will have to be used as of the 10th of January of next year. This new work item form is already available on the Senelec BOSS, but it will be mandatory to use it in less than 1 month, basically. And so let's propose that we dive into the specificities of this new work item proposal form. I will present this overview together with my colleague Raisa, so I will alternate between the slide and the new work item form as such. So here you should be able to see it basically. So from the start, nothing has much changed. You know, the type of deliverables, this is something that remains the same. To what the new work item corresponds to is the same as well. Also, the need to expand the purpose and to give a justification for this proposal. So this is something that remains. And then we can jump into one of the first novelty, which relates to the digital aspect. So basically asking you if you wish to develop your deliverable using the online collaborative authoring platform, or whether you would like to include any content that cannot be presented in Word or PDF. Basically, if you want to develop some audio files, XML schemas, machine readable formats, as you know, we are very much involved in the digital transformation of the standard. So this is something that is very relevant for us to know when you request a new work item. And indeed, maybe Raissa, you can elaborate a bit more on that based on this one.
Indeed, Constant. If you go to the next slide, these two questions that were included in the form, they both can be selected. And the first one refers to drafting the body of the standard, the text of the standard. And if it's selected yes, upon the reception of the form, we will put you in touch with the responsible person, which is our colleague, Shannon Ginnon, and she will set you up with an account to use online collaborative authoring platform for that. And the second one is whether or not the standard will include content that cannot be represented in Word or PDF. And if the answer to that is yes, then some further justification for it should be provided so that we can also put you in touch with her, and she will further detail and explain how this content should be delivered and in which format and which way. So it is important to provide clear information here so that we can make it clear which will be the process that the TC will have to follow.
Thank you, Raissa, indeed. So we can continue with some new section, and I think that you can already follow up with that because there's a new section related to this document that could be of interest to other CENELEC technical bodies or also to other CEN technical bodies. So this is a novelty that is very important to know for CCMC, but also for all those different TC that may have a scope that relate to this new work item proposal. So Raissa, I don't know if you want to say a few words on that as well.
Yes, this is also interesting information to have so that we can arrange if this is of the interest of other technical bodies.
Absolutely. And then, as you may be aware, we have the functions concerned and the specific stakeholder groups. So that's also a kind of information that we will be able to map, and which is obviously very important, and also how this deliverable will benefit stakeholders in that respect. And then we come to an important new section of the new work item form, as I mentioned, the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. The technical committee may be aware of those SDG, and actually we already performed a mapping exercise on the different deliverables that were produced by CENELEC, but also by CEN on this topic, and this is something that will be shared with the CEN and CENELEC communities very soon on how our different standards support those goals, those sustainable development goals. So this is a very interesting exercise that will be made available in spring 2022. And actually, we take the opportunity of having a new form to introduce this section about those goals, so that from the start, when you want to start a new homegrown project, you will be able to map the work item according to the different goals. So you see you have 17 of them. It's of course possible that a new work item correspond to several different goals. And this is a very important information also to share to the communities and to underline how standardization or standardization in CNX support those goals indeed. So a very important section for you to fill in. Then we have the intellectual property rights. So there are no changes on that, but it's as always the opportunity to underline the importance of this clause, especially if there are patents or any copyright or trademark that would be covered by the standard, because this is an item for which CNELEC and also CEN need to be very transparent about. And then we can continue with the IEC relations. So I already mentioned that. This is part of the Frankfurt Agreement. With this form, of course, no changes in that respect, because it's, as always, the opportunity to, for the technical committee to decide whether to offer or not this new work item to the IEC, so that its development can start at international level in parallel with CNELEC. And so, as a matter of fact, there's also the other section about possibly on which document this new work item request will rely on. So there are no changes there, just some further clarification that have been provided. For instance, we have introduced ISO IEC document, and namely those coming from ISO IEC GTC1 that can be used as a basis, as an inspiration, or that can also be adopted as European standard. So this is something that was very important to clarify. You have the possibility to mention whether a draft or an outline is also attached, provided different references, also whether it concerns any national standard, which can be a basis for the development of this European project. And of course, the link to, if any, the link to European research and innovation project. This is also something that will have to be requested. And then we move on to one of the latest novelties in terms of clarification in this new work item form. This is the one that relates to the project management and the target dates for making available the draft standard and the final draft standard to the CNELEC processes. And I think you want me to go back to the slide to provide some further.
Thank you, Constant. Indeed, the flexible standard development process is a new process for standard development, where the technical committees are made fully responsible for the timely and effective delivery of standards by enabling them to autonomously plan and organize the work within a specified maximum time frame of 68 weeks. So before the 68 weeks were distributed in a rigid time frame of 34 and 34 weeks. But now with the flexible development of standards, the time can be distributed accordingly to the TC needs. And the changes in the form, they are indeed very helpful, because it provides guidance on how the dates should be provided in the form in order to make the process smoother and avoid a lot of back and forth before proceeding with the Form 2 BT approval. I would like to highlight that the dates should be provided in number of weeks, and it is okay to provide the date in the date format as well, but it is mandatory to have it in the number of weeks. And I would like also to highlight that the date for the circulation of the first working draft is a fixed date. It's always half the time between the BT approval and the date for the delivery of the draft for inquiry. I would like to bring to your attention, in case you're not already aware of it, that there's an online tool that we developed, that it's a flexible timeframe calculator. It's very helpful to calculate the dates and to ensure that you're filling in the form with compliant dates to the flexible development of standards. And this, as I mentioned before, makes the whole process a lot smoother, taking to BT for approval, and avoids a lot of back and forth to fixing the dates. And just to make it clear that the flexible development of standards applies to homegrown, so ENs or amendments as well.
Thank you indeed for this information and clarifications. And then we can continue with the new work item form as such before closing this webinar, just to highlight the commitment that we need from at least 5 different national committees in order to start the work. So no changes in that respect as well, but still very important item as part of the new work item form. And last but not least, the relation to European legislation and policies, because you know that harmless standard is one of the key priorities of CNELEC and also of CEN in that respect. So here, no changes, except that we provided some clarification, notably in terms of legislation. It is, I believe, less misleading than it could have been in the past, and also the assessment methods, whether it requires an assessment from the house consultant, or whether it simply requires an assessment from the European Commission. But since we are within the CNELEC communities, you know that the main directive we are dealing with, be it the LVT, the MC, the RED, or also the machinery directive, they all require HAS assessment. So you will have to tick the box HAS, but also the box OJE, because at the end, our goal is to have the standard cited in the official journal. It's possible, for instance, that some harmonious standards are not covered by the HAS assessment system, and this is where you will have to tick the box EC, European Commission, or other method. Of course, now I will not go into the details of that, but it's rather the opportunity to invite you, in case of any doubt, to reach out to your CNELEC project manager. We'll be able to guide you in this process, to support you in making available a new work item form that is indeed fit for purpose. So with that, that's the end of the presentation. Thank you very much, Raisa. And thank you all for listening. And we look forward to collaborating with you in that